Well, hello guys, welcome back. Loki and Odin have been pushing at me for something, and they've actually been doing this for a couple years, even before I started the channel. And I think had I listened to Odin 4 or 5 years ago, my life would have went so much better, but no, I had to do it my way. And they're both like, why are you still clinging to calling yourself Wicca and having Wicca and Wiccan in your tags, and you are not Wiccan at all. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And they're like, do you believe in the rule of three? No. Do you believe in a harm none? No. Really, the only witch I really admire is Aleister Crowley. And they're like, do you believe in like one god, one goddess? Not really. And they kept going down the list, and it's like, I get your point. I'm like really not Wiccan at all. No, there's no witch police. If it made me happy to call myself Wiccan for the rest of my life, I could, but they had a valid point. And they're like, why won't you swap in another label, like Heathen or Esotrue? And I'm like, well, because I don't belong to any kind of group or family. I don't have any kin. And they're like, that doesn't matter. You can do you. And it depends on who you ask. Now, some people would love to hand you a list. The moment you announce you're a Heathen or Esotrue or whatever term you pick, they'll run up to you and hand you a list and say, if you don't do this, 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 and this, I don't approve. And I won't give you special Sparkle Princess points. What the fuck ever. And I can see why I've always been solitary. I thought about it and I said, I have been researching for a couple years. It's like a couple years. One of my pet peeves is when people research something for 5 minutes and then jump in. It's one of my pet peeves because every single time I've done it, I've gotten horribly burnt. And I thought, well, there are good heathens and there are good Esotrue, and there are people in both camps that will work with Loki and they will work with whomever. And at the end of the day, a label is just a label. Anybody can't tell you you must have this label or you can't. But I was trying to think, why would they be pushing for me to say heathen or Esotrue? And I think it's like a commitment thing, where Wiccans have a reputation justifiable not of being fluff bunny, and really you can plug and play any god or goddess and it's okay because it's all the same thing, and I really don't believe that. And I have the Norse god saying, we want you to stay. We want you to stay here and learn things. Why won't you say heathen? Why won't you say Esotrue? I'm like, well, it's because both terms are really problematic. There are a boatload of, say, atheists that call themselves heathens. And you'll be trying to study heathenry, and you'll just come across 5 billion atheistic articles. And I'm like, well, that's not for me, because I actually believe in our gods, because they won't leave me alone. And it's problematic. For example, if you would want to call yourself an Odinist, unfortunately, don't ever type Odinist into your search. Never, ever do that, ever. So it's one of those complicated things. I mean, it's not like Wiccans are all sunshine and sparkle. Some of the most intolerant, horrible people you will meet either belong in the New Age or call themselves Wicca. They're no better or worse than Christians or any other group. I've met some truly terrible Wiccans, and you all have too. It's almost like they think that if they use this soft, kind, gentle word, you're not going to notice how they actually are, and they're some of the most horrible people on earth. And so it's just a thing I have to think about, but I thought I would discuss it with you guys, because I'm like, the practical side of me is like, well, for 2 years I've been putting Wicca in my tags, and I've been putting Wiccan in my tags. I always put pagan, because I'm very proud of being pagan, but I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely more pagan than I am Wicca, because I don't really celebrate the World of the Year. Because when you first come into Wicca, you'll do whatever people tell you to, not because you're simple-minded or something, but you're so overwhelmed and you need a structure, so you'll take their structure until you can make your own sense of things. And I thought, anymore I'm doing less and less magic, and I'm putting more and more reliance on the gods, and that's another sticking point. Some people will say, heathens don't pray to our gods, and da-da-da, and I'm like, you would ask me to do something super difficult, because I think it pleases you to see if I'll do it. So it's gonna be one of those things. I don't always think putting labels on yourself is super useful. And I know that the moment you put labels on yourself, the internet's like, oh yes, we get to judge you. So if, like, I would say tomorrow I'm a heathen, oh my god, people would be like, you're a heathen, you can't work with Loki. You're a heathen, do you know ancient whatever? You're a heathen, why aren't you an expert in the runes? Because almost nobody's a rune master. A lot of people just lie or Wikipedia before, like, 5 minutes before the video. Uh, he's like, yeah. Um, it's one of those things I'm gonna have to think about. I definitely think a word can just be a word, but I also think that it can be a very loaded word, and I wouldn't just use a title and not have the credentials to back it up. I was like, give me about a decade more study, and maybe I'll be happy to say heathen or as a true. And they're like, no, you jumped into Wicca completely blind. Why aren't you doing this thing? And I'm like, because I get the idea that once you jump, there's no going back. And I'm not going to say that I think Wiccans are terrible or that I think they do bad research. I think there are terrible people in all religions. I think there are people that do bad research in every religion. I think bad research is what people call anything they don't agree with, no matter what label they put on themselves. So it's definitely something to think about. I'm like, if I would label the channel heathen or as a true or something else, one, I would have to be comfortable enough with that label and think I know what the hell I'm talking about. And two, I would have to realize that there are going to be people that will be attracted that might not be tolerant. And at the other end, there might be people that go, oh, I only watched you because you weren't heathen or because you weren't as a true. So I don't know what those two are up to, but if they can make my life a challenge, they will. And that seems to be the challenge for 2019 because neither one will let up. So yeah. I don't know. Next week it might be something different, but I definitely feel they're both pushing for it. Like, what's the matter? You're like heathen and everything but name only. And I'm like, I don't know, man. But we'll see. I think I would go with heathen because to me it's more generalized and you can do a lot of stuff with it. But there's been a lot of great as a true articles or what, read or videos I've watched too. So it really depends, but I'm not a joiner, so it's not like I'll ever join a group or ever want really close kin because I'm an argumentative son of a bitch, as you've kind of noticed. So I would be the one on the outside, and I've had so many people tell me horror stories of, oh, I was in that group and they did this, and I've been in bad groups. I've been in bad groups in the past in my own personal experience, so it's like I'm not a joiner at this part of my life. If I call myself heathen or I call myself as a true, the only people I'm concerned about accepting that label is me and the gods. That's like, all the ancestors, but that's like it. So if you guys like what you see, like, comment, subscribe. You're free to put thoughts below. Be respectful. I don't think there's any problem with any one group. I think there's a problem with people in groups. So I will see you guys later. Bye bye.